eating blackberries straight off the cane. So sweet and juicy. They make me raise my hand in praise, like unconsciously. The peony flowers and the leaves against my cheek, running them up my arms. The smell, so beautiful. I want to share them with everybody. I just take peony flowers and, here, put this on your face, rub this on your arm, smell this. The many times now that I am filled with gratitude beyond measure, beyond words, so profound when I am with beloveds, grieving and celebrating one of the beloveds we've lost. All of these experiences in my life have been possible because of joy. Joy as an experience of the life of God. This is what joy is. Joy is an outpicturing of eros. The Greeks named one kind of love eros. We have 99 names of God in the Islam tradition. We've got the Trinity. We have Freya. We have Aphrodite. We have Hathor. We have Kama from the Hindu tradition. All of these ways of naming and telling story and myth to help us understand the nature of the divine. And one of the divine's natures is eros. We're going to use the Greek word for this idea of an embodied experience of love itself, capital L love, of the divine. And joy, different from happiness, right? Happiness is fleeting. Happiness is an experience we have because of a specific circumstance, and it can come and it can go. But joy is literally an aspect of God. It is immovable, it is unbreakable, it is unchangeable. It is this thing that is ever available to you and I as we experience our divinity, right? So these experiences of joy that I have had aren't because of my loved ones, aren't because of the blackberries or the peonies. It is because I have joy that I can delight in the peonies, that I can have the conscious experience, felt sensation that of profound gratitude in the midst of pain and sadness. This is what joy is. This is why I want to talk about joy this month as a revolution. As I was working on this sermon and working on this series for July, I was thinking about joy as not only the armor we need in this time, it is also the medicine. It is also the way to meet the crises we find ourselves in. It is also the antidote to systemic oppression. It is so many things, and I think it is so because it is a way that you and I have direct access to divinity, to the power of the divine. One of my favorite teachers, and who really was part of my own awakening early in my life and my college days, Audre Lorde, wrote this incredible essay on the uses of the erotic and the power of the erotic. And she defined the erotic, which I know is a word that has lost its meaning in our culture for sure, but here's how she defines it, that it is rooted in the word eros, right? The Greek name for one aspect of love. But she said it's the personification of love in all its aspects. And I think you and I are looking for the personification of the divine in all of its aspects. And personification of the divine is you, is me. It is how we experience God. You know, I got into this ministry game. I didn't know I was getting into this ministry game, but I got into really a spiritual life, seeking spirituality, seeking God, to know God. It started as I wanted relief from suffering, but it quickly became, I want to know all of these things that we write about and the poets have written about and the sacred texts are pointing at, right? Buddha said, you know, we are pointing at the moon. Our pointing is not the moon. The moon is the moon. So I knew people are having these experiences because they're writing about it. The Buddha is teaching. Jesus is telling us stuff, right? The prophets, Marys, all of these folks have been writing mythology, trying to point at this thing that you and I can experience. And I believe they were writing because of the experiences they were having. And I got in this game because I wanted to have the experience of God. I wanted to know God beyond the words, beyond the pointing. And one of the things that I have discovered in my quest is that joy, gratitude, delight, enthusiasm, right? Entheos, which means to be in God, to be filled, to overflow with God. That this is one of the most profound and surprising pathways to the divine. And I didn't know that that would be the case. I didn't know that simple delight would become spiritual experience. And I didn't know that this experience of all of the siblings and cousins of Eros, the outpicturing of Eros, of the divine, as joy, as experiences of delight, as being so full with feeling that I have no choice but to raise my hand in gratitude. Thank you, God. Happiness is caused by circumstances. Joy is caused by the first cause, the divine. And when we wrap ourselves in the cloak of this goodness, of this felt experience, we not only put on armor and protection from the chaos and the systems designed to literally oppress, repress, push down our divinity, your divinity. It is joy that protects us from that keeps us anchored in truth. But it is so much more than that, because it helps us begin to taste and sip and touch God and know God in our experience. And because we do, we begin to know, not just know with thought, but to know in our bodies and our flesh and our bones that we are alive. We begin to experience aliveness. We are filled with the life of God as our own aliveness. And because I am alive, I have no choice but to recognize my belonging to life. Like, oh my God, I'm alive. I'm filled with this breath. I am filled with all of these feelings and sensations that just are hard to even begin to fathom in these moments of ecstasy, also a cousin of joy. And when I have this experience, I have no choice but to know myself as part of this life, as connected to and belonging to life itself, which means all of life is belonging to the divine, to this thing that I am experiencing. And there's no separation between me and life itself, between you and I. This is the power that the erotic, that eros, that all of the outpicturings and results of eros, aliveness of God as life itself, that you and I experience as joy, as delight, as ecstasy, as all of these incredible feelings that we can become filled with, enthusiastic with, they bring us into contact with our own aliveness, which brings us into contact with life itself, the one life, which brings us into conscious awareness and experience of our inherent, unbreakable connection to one another. And this is powerful, my friends, inside of systems of oppression, because it is the thing that brings us conscious to, aware of how precious our aliveness is, our connection, our belonging is. And it is joy that awakens us to that. Many, 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 many of us have been awakened through this joy. And then we know what it is we are protecting, what we are standing for. We know how important this one life, this one thing that we belong to, that cannot be put aside, put on the shelf, that is so worthy of awakening to. Your worthiness becomes so obvious in this moment. There is no other possibility, because you become aware through joy, through delight, through ecstasy, through aliveness, that these bodies of ours have been divinely appointed and filled to overflow with God, as God. And that anything that is in the way of that, that is interested in oppressing that, in separating you and I from that experience, from that knowing, cannot continue. Must be broken, right? Must be dismantled, must dissipate. That's how powerful your joy is. That is why I'm calling this the joy revolution. Because you connected to your divinity through joy, through pleasure, through eros, through the erotic. I want to share with you another quote from Audre Lorde's essay. She goes on to say, for having experienced the fullness and the depth of this feeling, at recognizing its power, in honor and self-respect, we can require no less of ourselves. When you and I not just read about or think about the divine, not just read about or think about or ponder or contemplate our own divinity, that the divine itself is living itself through you, through me, through life itself is life itself. But when you and I, as Audre say, experience the fullness and the depth of this feeling, the power of this experience, of this truth, in honor and self-respect, we can require no less of ourselves. This is the medicine of the erotic, of eros, of the felt, embodied experience of aliveness that connects you and I in unbreakable ways. And why I think it is a critical spiritual practice in this time, right? Joy is so deeply connected to gratitude. Joy is so deeply connected to aliveness. And it doesn't need a specific set of circumstances for you to have it. It is the life of God. It is the nature of God. It is a story and a mythology of the divine that humanity has been telling and pointing to since its inception. And you and I can have it right now. As a revolutionary choice, as a spiritual practice. We get to take God out of the books, off the page, and bring it into our bodies. We get to do so by Recognizing, Audre Lorde says, the power of the erotic within our lives can give us the energy to pursue genuine change in the world, rather than merely settling for a shift of characters in the same weary drama. We touch our most profoundly creative source. Recognizing the power of the erotic, of joy, of the life of the divine in you as you is what gives you the possibility, the actual impulse and energy to create change. Change in your own life and change in the collective. Right? When we start to have real feelings of this experience in theos, we become enthusiastic about how it is that we are connected, how it is that life is living itself through you as the collective life itself. And you get to participate it consciously, joyously, right? This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me or you. This power is what fills us with the possibility for transformation and the kind of change, the radical change we want to see in the world, in our communities. That's how powerful it is, and why it is radical and revolutionary to center this practice in your life. It puts us in touch with the creative force. When we are in it, we begin to create more joy. When we are resonating, right? When we tune ourselves to the sound of joy, then that is what we radiate out into the world, and other people become tuned to that. We seek experiences and circumstances that are a match for this power. This is how transformation and real, lasting, meaningful change happens. This is why I believe right now, right here, is a time for you and I to revolutionize our spiritual lives through the practice of joy, through the practice of touching the eros, spirit's aliveness right here in our flesh. So that's what we're going to be doing all month long. And I want to invite you, if you are anywhere near the Albuquerque area, come and get in joy with me. We're going to be dancing on the 13th. We are going to be singing. I'm going to give a fundraising concert on the 20th. And if you are anywhere in the world, you can get on the app where there are specific practices that I've written for you to get into contact with this, to get into contact with the erotic, whether that is through sensual touch, whether that is through dancing it out, whether it is through art making, whether it is through intentional breath work to bring you more alive in your body. These are the practices that are available on the app, which you can get by signing up for our newsletter. The link to the app is there. I want you to be so alive with joy, filled with the divine, in such contact with the erotic, with eros, with the divine love that is living itself right now through you as you, that you become a revolution in your living, that you become the place where life transforms for all of us. That's how powerful your joy is. And so it is.